courts and firms where there's so much paperwork involved in it anymore. Gosh, we used to go to trial all the time with a file about that big. I had one trial one time where they had 63 of those cardboard boxes and things. And a lawyer in that case one time made an objection on a certain thing, and I said, I haven't read all your 63 boxes. You got to show me what this is that you're asking, because I just don't see why I needed it. I had a good friend of mine, Judge Manners, just retired and has gone back into practice. And he called me one day, and I went up to see him, and he said, he said, I've been working all weekend, and he said, one of the days, too, was a holiday, and he said, the files are up to here, and he said, I suddenly discovered I was the lowest paid lawyer in this case. So he told the lawyers, he said, I'm not going to do it. I've had to do that too. I would have done it several times and stacked the paperwork up, and finally I'd just say, guys, I'm not going to read anymore. You've been doing this for months and months. And I think that, I don't know whether firms do that you got to be thorough, but you don't want to overdo it and things. And probably when they got, you got hundreds and hundreds of things to read and such, somebody has to prepare that. And I'm not sure it's all that necessary, but part of it is, of course, but to be thorough. But, like I tried a murder case one time in which the public defender had 55 motions in it filed, and one of the other judges was complaining to me about, he said, I've stopped reading them because I think it's ridiculous on that. And I said, well, but when this isn't a civil case, and a criminal case where you're dealing with somebody's life, I think we ought to read them. And so I'd read the 55 things and then, toss out what I didn't think was right and wrong and such. But it's one of the things that probably happens. And the other thing we've made divorces so complicated now that most judges feel divorces are cruel and unusual punishment when you have to hear them. If a young lawyer wants to go into domestic law, you probably get paid pretty good, but you're going to get a lot of phone calls with they're mad at each other and they just assume you shot both of them in court and things. But we've got no-fault divorce, which we didn't used to have, and I think that has generated so much more paperwork than. And I was in the Senate at the time it happened, and it failed a number of times, but one night we were having a night session. We'd all gone out to dinner, and a few of them had had a little bit too much wine to drink, and the darn thing passed. They didn't know what they were really voting on and such. But the paperwork at the time and stuff like that, it makes things more thorough in a way, but it also makes it so much more complicated. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have a tendency to forget that the public can only pay so much. And like, I have a friend of mine that told me, he said, my lawyer charges $400 an hour. And he said, when I called him up, I said, I don't want to visit about your family. I just want you to say yes or no to this question. I don't want any time spent on how you're feeling or anything.